church planting in the Baltics, global mission in Southeast Asia, and medical professionals making a difference in Africa coming up next. Hello and welcome to Mission 360. I'm Gary Krause. Today's program is coming to you from the city of Los Angeles in California. And here is the beautiful beachscape with the sunset in front of me. And along this beach you see literally hundreds of people exercising, stretching, riding their bikes, running, doing all sorts of gymnastics. And it's interesting, in 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 8, Paul says that physical training has some benefit, but he says that godliness has much benefit. And on today's program, we'll be seeing godly men and women who are sharing the love of Jesus in very practical ways all around the world. We'll be learning more about mission here in California, but first up, let's travel to the Southern Asia division to see the broad range of mission activity happening in that vast territory.
It's okay, even though it's not straight. I have seen a lot of blessing in these centers. In the beginning, we don't have this 3-classroom building yet. We only teaching in the house, and we use our living room and the kitchen as a classroom. And more students coming, so we teach in the opening area outside of our house. So I think God has blessed us in many different areas.
Since the humble days of teaching outside under this single light, the Adventist Language Center located in northern Laos has grown tremendously in just a few short years. When classes opened the first week, only 10 students showed up. The second week, word had spread throughout the community, and about 70 students came to learn English. They had to hold 3 consecutive classes each night to accommodate everyone. Challenges such as lack of space, harsh weather including hailstorms, and scheduling issues have made teaching difficult. Classes must be held in the evening or early in the morning. At one point, teachers even organized a class that met at 4 in the morning to ensure students would make it to their regular school on time. As interest continued to grow by word of mouth, eventually, a 3-classroom building was constructed. Dedicated teachers have formed strong connections with their students.
We share love, share our care, our kindness to them. So their reaction, they kind of surprised when they came here because it's different from other schools.
We have a very close relationship to the student. Our relationship is to care about them, about their learning. So we try our best to teach them and care them.
Personal relationships open the door for something more than just formal education. For many of the students, the Language Center is the only place they will interact with Christian teachers.
Our purpose is to help the people in the community, those who are struggle in financial, they cannot go to expensive school. Everyone in this community can come in, and when they come in to our school, we can share God's word, God's love to them. That is our goal here. We want to teach them God's love. We want them to become one of our family.
To know Jesus is a happiness, and to introduce somebody to Jesus, I feel peace in my life.
Teachers and students at the Language Center are praying to expand their facilities once again.
More students keep coming to our school, and we had no space. We need a bigger space. We need a larger building, so we will be able to contain such a student.
If we could have more classroom for the students, we can get more students to come. And when students come, we can teach them about God.
A new building would not only allow them to accommodate more students, but it would also create the space necessary to start a full-time school, beginning with kindergarten. Your prayers and mission offerings have a direct impact on lives around the world. Please pray for teachers and students in language centers like this one in Laos. Thank you for supporting mission.
My guest is Dr. Ryan Hayton, who is a surgeon, head of surgery at Malamulu Hospital in Malawi, Africa. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Now, we're here on the campus of Loma Linda, slightly different hospital environment to where you're working, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. I work at Malamulu Adventist Hospital. It's in southern rural Malawi. Malawi is a very poor country, one of the poorest in the world, and our hospital is an hour outside the city, oftentimes on a very bad road to get there. Quite a bit different than Loma Linda.
Right. Now, we were talking earlier and you told me how many surgeons there were when you first arrived there?
Yeah, when I arrived in Malawi, there were 12 surgeons for 17 million people in the country. It's about 1.3 million patients for each surgeon. It was pretty low numbers compared to what the World Health Organization or other places would recommend.
Amazing. Now, why did you decide to go to serve in Malamulu?
Well, I chose to serve as a doctor and as a missionary because of the example of my father and my history in my family. But while I was here at Loma Linda, I was recruited and signed up for the Deferred Mission Appointee program. And as a DMA, it was asked of me to go as a missionary, and I thought that that was the right thing for me in my life.
So the DMA program is a program that encourages students to think about mission service, right?
Absolutely. And there are programs in the Adventist Church for all different specialties. For dentists and doctors, it's called Deferred Mission Appointee.
Wonderful. Now, what have been some of the challenges you have faced working at the hospital?
Well, working at the hospital, we've been faced with really low resources in Malawi, both from a logistical and financial standpoint. In low and middle income countries like Malawi, some of the challenges that you incur are different than here, but we still give as good of health care as we possibly can in the situation.
Now, what sort of cases do you see on a daily basis?
I'm a surgeon, so we deal with traumas, cancer, all sorts of other surgical problems. We have a very busy surgical service at Malamulu. We do over 2,000 cases each year.
Amazing. Now, when I grew up as a kid, we in family worship would always pray for the missionaries. Do you sometimes get the sense that missionaries aren't as high up on the agenda of people's prayer lives, or maybe they even forget about you? Do you ever feel that way?
We do sometimes feel like the mission work of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is possibly overlooked or underappreciated, and I think that that is throughout the whole world. I do think that there's a huge need still for missionaries, medical missionaries and others. I think that the need is out there, and people absolutely can find a place for themselves in missions. I think that everybody has a place in missions.
Now, some people would say, well, Dr. Ryan, you're doing a wonderful work, but you go over there for a limited period of time, you come back, and there's no ongoing effect. How do you answer that?
Well, it is true that there have been a long line of missionary doctors like my father and great-grandfather who came, worked for a few years, and then left. And I think that several years ago we forged a new way to start to train African doctors to be compassionate and competent surgeons. So through Pan-Africa Academy of Christian Surgeons, we were able to start a training program that's a postgraduate surgical training program at Malamulu, getting the next generation of missionary surgeons ready from Africa.
Wonderful. Now, Malamulu is owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. How is it managed? How is it run?
So it's owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but managed in a joint effort through the Adventist Church as well as Adventist Health International, which is a subsidiary of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay, so AHI is an organization that runs this hospital and others?
Yeah, so there's many hospitals around the world that AHI helps to manage. And they bring in logistical support as well as support for those of us who are trying to do a good work and need some types of supplies as well as donations.
What have been, tell me a highlight of your time at Malamulu. What has brought you a moment where you say, yeah, it was worth being here?
I would say for several years, about 4 years, I was working on my own as the only surgeon at the hospital and was quite burned out and saw, like, what's the future? Am I just going to be here and work my fingers to the bone, but in the end have nothing to show at this hospital for what I've done? And now looking back, starting education to train African doctors has been the greatest joy. It really brings me a purpose and has made me feel like what I'm doing there is worth it.
Wonderful. Now, you have a family, you have children. What do they do? How old are they?
So my wife is Charlene, and we have 3 children, 10, 8, and 5.
Oh, wow.
And they're growing up in the middle of Africa in a beautiful environment. They go to school there that's a collaborative homeschool taught by a student missionary, and they really enjoy living there.
Yeah, so you grew up for several years when you were a kid on the same campus, right?
Yeah, so I went to the same school as where my children go now, and enjoyed growing up there, and that was one of the impetuses for me to go back as an adult, as a missionary.
Yeah. Looking to the future, what are your hopes for Malamula?
My hopes is that Malamula will start a trajectory for the Adventist Church, for the missions of the Adventist Church to be a place of training, a place to not only to do good healthcare, but also to train people who can take our places, to make it more sustainable.
And a young person who's watching this thinking, maybe I'd like to serve, but I'm not sure if I'm needed, what would you advise?
I'd advise, if you're young, to go on a short-term mission trip and see the world, see where the need is. And also, God needs willing individuals who are willing to serve and sacrifice. And I do think in a strong way that there is a big need for new and young missionaries, as well as those who are willing to serve on a short-term as well as long-term basis.
Dr. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Absolutely.
And please pray for Ryan and his family and other medical missionaries all around the world as they encounter many challenges, but many joys as well. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Los Angeles, California, and behind me you can see part of the skyline of this great city. Next up, we travel to the Baltics and we visit the country of Estonia, where a young woman is planting a new group of believers in the capital city of Tallinn.
I'm here in the beautiful country of Estonia, in the city of Tallinn, talking with Lisu, who is a church planter here in this city. Now, Lisu, are there Adventist churches here in Tallinn?
There's actually one in Estonian and one in Russian, but they're gathering in the same building, so you can say there's only one church in Tallinn. So
there's one church building here in Tallinn,
yes,
and 2 congregations meeting there, an Estonian one and a Russian one.
Mm-hmm.
Now the church building, is it fairly new?
No, it's actually pretty old. I don't even know how old is it, but it has been here from the start. So 120 years.
So they're celebrating the 120th anniversary of the Adventist Church here in Estonia, and that church is still the original church that is still here. And it's right on the edge of the historic district there, a beautiful old building. I mean, the church has grown so that they have 2 churches in there, but you have a whole city in one church yet. So what made you decide to start another church, to become a church planter?
So actually it started many years ago when I was just thinking about it, that what should we do? Because we saw that the Adventist movement wasn't anymore a movement, and people were only serving themselves in the church, not serving others outside the church. And we heard about church planting for 2 years ago, and we actually didn't know if we're going to do it because it seemed very, very scary for us. And we didn't know anyone who has ever done this before in Estonia. And that's why we thought it's going to be something so new that maybe we shouldn't try it at all. But then after some time, we saw that God is with us, and we learned how to trust God more. And so that's why we got ourselves together and we thought we're gonna try.
Okay, so how many of you are there working on this church plant?
At first there were only 6 people, and then a year ago we started with a bigger group. There was 14 people, and now we have been expanding our group, and right now we have 26 people in our group.
26 people, okay. Now, have you attended conferences to learn about church planting then?
Yes, that's where it all started. It was in Riga, in Latvia. There was a Seeds conference. So where Tommy and Jeff Potts told us about church planting, and that's what got us so inspired at the first place. And then we had some conferences in Estonia, but only these 2. We have only read the manual and hope that God will give us strength and wisdom to do that.
In some ways, that's the important part, to rely on God to send His Holy Spirit and to lead you. Now, where are you in the process of starting the church plant?
We have done many things right now. We have written down our mission, vision, values, and we all already picked a name for our church. Okay. It's going to be a Compass Church.
Okay.
And it was so funny that the first Adventist who started get together like 120 years ago, they
Here
started
in this city.
Yeah, in this city, in street named Compass.
So you guys got together and said, what should we call ourselves?
We didn't know
and
that.
And you came up with Compass.
Yes, and
then you found out.
This week we found out that.
This week, because it's the 120th anniversary of the church here in Estonia. Yes. And so you found out the first church started on Compass Street.
Yes. It wasn't a church, they were just gathering together.
They were just a small gathering, getting together. Yeah. Wow.
It was so inspiring for us because we thought about this name for 4 months ago. And now when we realized it was the beginning of our movement in Estonia, we were so shocked and surprised because we can be the end of the movement and when Jesus comes back, so it will be so amazing.
Now, do you have any stories of somebody who you've already started to reach?
Actually, for this 1 year we have been together, everyone has so many stories. I don't know why, but
so it's only been 1 year so far.
Like together with 14 people, yes.
Right.
Yes, and one of my stories, like it's the funniest story, but it's so cool. Like I was working in America with the program Camp America, and I was working there as a counselor in a Christian camp. And when I came back, some people just messaged me on Facebook, what did you do there, and where they should go. And one day in spring, a girl messaged me, what did you do and where should I go? And then she told me, we should meet and I will introduce you an idea. And I was like, okay, she's a stranger, I will try. Anyway, when I went there, I didn't know where I was going. I thought it was a stranger home. I didn't want to go there, actually. I was so scared. And I'm so paranoid as well. But she was like, you have to come upstairs. When I saw her, I was, okay, she's smaller than me. I can do that, I will go. Anyway, I went there upstairs and it was a bit dark and I was so scared, I don't know why. Anyway, we went to that room and then I realized, okay, she was from some kind of corporation and she wanted to sell me something. And then I was like, okay, but it doesn't matter, I have something in my life already. And we were talking about church planting and it led to that she was so inspired that she wanted to come to our church now.
So she's coming to your church now.
Like, she wanted to come to that new church, so I will invite her anyway.
Well, that is wonderful, and you're still in the early stages. Lisu, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you, too.
And for Mission 360, I'm Rick Kajura.
Welcome back to Los Angeles, California. If you'd like to see more of Mission 360, or if you'd like to catch an episode or a feature or an interview that you've missed, just go to m360.tv, and there you'll find the whole archive of Mission 360 programs, individual stories, individual interviews, and entire programs. Or you can also visit us at Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Feel free to please join us. We'll welcome you to the Mission 360 TV online community. Next up, let's travel to Southeast Asia.
Ang akong trabaho karon matag adlaw.
I work as a farmer here in Lake Cebu, but only up until 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. After that, I prepare myself to give Bible studies to my neighbors.
Bible workers like Jerry serve the people in this beautiful region of the Philippines. Lake Cebu is known for fruit and vegetable farming, but most people associate this area with its abundance of fish in the lake. The region is home to the Topoli tribe. This tribe has a unique language, dance, clothing, and culture. Jerry and his friends have special opportunities to share the Adventist message with this group. Jerry was trained as a Bible worker by the pastor who baptized him more than 20 years ago. He continues to work as a farmer to support his family, but Jerry's real passion is sharing the gospel.
The Tiboli tribe feels so happy when we share the truth, the Bible truth, that we learned from our Bible training.
Before he became an Adventist, Jerry struggled for years with a sharp pain in his side. It kept getting worse until the pain was unbearable. He went to the doctor, who told him he needed treatment. Unfortunately, he couldn't afford the surgery or the medication he needed. Jerry had one option. To afford the treatment, he needed to sell his only water buffalo. The buffalo was extremely valuable to him. It helped labor in the fields to earn money for his family. Without it, he didn't know how he could feed his family. This saddened Jerry, but it was the only way he could overcome the pain and regain his health. He had been studying with a Seventh-day Adventist pastor and decided to turn the situation over to God. When the pastor came to visit him later, Jerry asked to be baptized.
After that day, when I came up from the water after baptism, I realized my pain was gone. I haven't had any trouble or pain since that time. It was God.
Jerry didn't need to sell the buffalo. He was able to continue farming and providing for his family. Since that day, Jerry has been a dedicated Bible worker, working side by side with others who are just as eager to share the Adventist message with the Tiboli people. As their team of passionate workers grows, the group prays for a training center where they can gather together to train new workers and share their experiences. Please consider how you can support them through your mission giving. As Jerry and his friends continue working in this region, there are, unfortunately, many challenges. Although people are open to hearing the gospel message, having enough trained workers is difficult. Please pray for the Lake Cebu area. Pray that people like Jerry will continue to reach those around them.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on today's program, coming to you from here in Los Angeles, California. And I hope that you've enjoyed your 360-degree view of mission around the world. And I hope that you've been challenged and inspired by what you've seen and heard. If you'd like to share some of the things that you've seen here on Mission 360, or if there's an episode you've missed or something you want to watch again, just go to m360.tv, and there you will find episodes, interviews, features, all from Mission 360. And I invite you to join us on our online community through Twitter, through Facebook, or through Instagram. And I want to thank you for your continuing support for Adventist mission around the world. As global mission pioneers plant new churches, as missionaries share the good news, as centers of influence touch lives in the big cities, I want to thank you for your financial support, your prayerful support, and your personal involvement. And as a small thank you for your participation in Adventist mission, I'd like to send you a small free gift. It's a book called A Taste of Travel. And this is a book that takes you all over the globe with samples of recipes from many different countries, beautiful vegetarian recipes that I know you'd like to try. Well, for Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.